into our communities, and that He has called us to be sent, to go out and not just sit in these four walls, not sit in the four walls of our house. So today we're going to talk a little bit about what does it look like to actually do that, to be in the hands and feet of Christ. How do we go? How do we actually go out? So Matthew 9, chapter 35 through 38 says, Jesus traveled through all the towns and villages of that area, teaching in the synagogues and announcing the good news about the kingdom. And he healed every kind of disease and illness. When he saw the crowds, he had compassion on them because they were confused and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. He said to his disciples, "The harvest is great, but the workers are few. So pray to the Lord, who is in charge of the harvest. Ask him to send more workers into his field." Father God, I pray, Lord, that you will touch our hearts, Lord, and as we get into this, Lord, help us to see. Help us to see, Lord, that the harvest really is great here in Ulysses. Lord, you are calling us to be your workers. We are your hands and feet. Help us to be obedient. So, most people, most of us here, that we love God. That we say that we are followers of Jesus, that we have been to do what God wants us to do. I believe that most of us here would say that if Christ and Jesus came here and stood before us and said, "Leave everything and follow me," I believe probably most of us, if not all of us, would say, "Okay, Jesus, I will leave everything and I will follow you. I will be obedient to you." I really believe that Christ's church would do that we would do that. But why? Why would Jesus say, "Leave everything"? We talked a little bit about it in Sunday school this morning. But why would Jesus say, "Leave everything and follow me"? Does he mean leave everything? Does he mean leave everything to the poor, leave your job, leave everything and follow, leave your family? Maybe. I believe it may probably be different in each of our circumstances, but I do believe it's a hard thing. Would we be willing to leave everything to follow Jesus? Would we be willing to say, "Christ, you are first. You are the reason that I exist. And so all that other stuff really doesn't matter in comparison. I will follow you. If you ask me to do it, I will leave all of that and follow you." I believe it's a heart thing. It's not so much a physical thing. So Jesus was telling us to put our eyes, put our focus on him. He wants our focus to be on something different than sometimes we put our focus on. We've been talking a whole lot about mission stuff, about being missional as a people, being missional in the way we think. Not stop thinking so much about who I am and what I can get and what I need to get, and think about those that are around us. Most of the time, no matter where we go, whether it's to the store, whether it's at our job, wherever it may be, there are people, there's a huge chance that there are people around us that are lost, that do not know Jesus. So we are on a mission field, all of us, here at Ulysses. Even if you were born and raised here and been here all your life, where you go is a mission field. He has called us to go out, and Jesus told them to go on a mission into Jerusalem, but they were from Jerusalem. So their mission field was Jerusalem at that point in time. We have to make disciples of people. We all know the Great Commission, go into all the world, preaching, teaching, discipling, and bringing them, baptizing them. We all know that is kind of the ultimate thing that we need to do. But many of us say, "Well, I'm not a pastor, I can't go out and baptize somebody, so I'm not going to go out there." That's the preacher's job to baptize. That's the preacher's job to preach. That's the teacher's job to disciple. It's the preacher's job to do whatever. God has called us all. That call was for everyone to go proclaim. That word preach, they just put it in there in the King James, but it's to proclaim. It's just to share what Christ has done in each and every one of us. To say that what he has done. Just like we read last week, just like Jesus said, the Father has sent me, as the Father has sent me, I am sending you. Well, the Father sent Jesus on a mission. Jesus is sending us on a mission. The same thing. How do we do that, though? So, Matthew 4, verse 23. Matthew 4:23 says, Jesus, region of Galilee, teaching the good news about the kingdom, and he healed every kind of disease and illness. So Jesus, he taught in the synagogues, he announced the good news, or he proclaimed the good news, and then he was healing people. So the three things that people do, I don't know if you caught that or not, but the verses we started with was verse 9:35, and our lesson verses. 9:35 said the exact same thing. It was an identical verse. So chapter 4:23, almost like bookends. Jesus starts this off, and then he ends this. Let's see how Jesus started. So this is the very beginning of Jesus' ministry. The only thing Jesus says to before that is up 4 verses on 19. Jesus called to them and said, "Come, follow me, and I will show you how to fish for people." So who were those? That was the apostles. That was Peter, James, John, Andrew out there fishing. He sees them, says, "Come and follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." That's the only thing Jesus says before it says he starts traveling in the region, teaching, announcing, and healing. So Jesus is starting off his ministry here. I want us to kind of see what Jesus does. We're going to get an overview of Matthew as we go through here. I believe probably all of us know what chapter 5, 6, and 7 of Matthew are. That is the Sermon on the Mount, the most famous sermon out there that Jesus ever preached, most famous sermon in the Bible. So Jesus finishes, it says he's going everywhere, he's teaching, healing, and then he goes up to this mountain and preaches this really, really fabulous sermon. It's just 3 chapters. In this sermon, Jesus is giving boundaries. This sermon is kind of like the head and the heart of, I guess, the gospel. As the Lord as Jesus is talking, he's kind of saying, look, this is what we do. We're not angry. We love our enemies. We support those that are against us. We are compassionate. We, as Christ enters into us, we are in our community. We are. It's what we have in our heart and our head. We have in our heart and our head. That's kind of what the Sermon on the Mount is it leads through. There's so much teaching in the Sermon on the Mount. I'm not going to really preach on the Sermon on the Mount, but that is what it is. And he's telling us, this is, as you accept me, is you have this heart to change. As I take that heart of stone out and I replace it with a heart of flesh, these are things that are going to start changing in your life. Not judging others. How to pray. Now then we get into chapter 8. So we get out of the Sermon on the Mount. We get into chapter 8. Now Jesus takes what he just preached, and he actually puts it on the ground. It's kind of like boots on the ground. These are the hands and feet of what the Sermon on the Mount was. So he's preaching 3 chapters, leaves the mountain. Large crowds are following him, probably all the crowd that just followed him out of the Sermon on the Mount. And the first thing he does is heals a leper. So he heals a leper, then he goes off and he goes to runs across a Roman officer. Now remember, Roman officers and Jews weren't the best of friends at this point in time. So this is a Gentile that is coming to Jesus, and he has a paralyzed servant. He's like, Lord, just heal my servant. You don't even need to come. You just speak the word, and he'll be healed. You just say, wow, I've not seen a person with this much faith yet. So Jesus is compassionate, says, go. You're a Gentile, it doesn't matter. He is healed. The Gentile's paralyzed son, he goes through that. Then it says he starts healing a bunch of people. He's just like going around like healing healing spree. Everywhere he's touching, he's healing people. Then Jesus kind of gets off and he talks a little bit about the cost of following him. What does it mean to follow me? He gets out on the ocean. On the Sea of Galilee, there's a storm. He calms the storm. So now Jesus is calming the storm. He's at peace through all of this. He's telling others to be at peace. It's okay. He heals 2 demon-possessed men. Heals another paralyzed man, which is, in this verse, it's a parallel to Luke 5, and Luke chapter 5. It doesn't talk about it here in Matthew, but it's the same thing in chapter 5 of Luke, where they let the paralyzed man down through the only heal this paralyzed man who is on this bed. He also forgives his sins. This before he heals him. And the Pharisees are all getting onto him and mad at him. He's like, who are you to be able to do all this? He's like, was it easier to heal someone, say get up and walk, or to forgive them of their sins? And so Jesus says, your sins are forgiven. Don't sin no more. Pick up your mat and go walk. And it causes some ruckus there with the religious leaders. But as Jesus is going through there, I think many of us need that friend. We have those friends. Sometimes we may not come to church. We may not come to a place and say, okay, I want my sins forgiven. This guy didn't come by himself. He wanted to be healed, I'm sure. Be like, I would love to not be paralyzed anymore. I would love to not have to be carried around. I would love to be able to walk. But I don't know if this guy can really do this. But the friend. And not only in the midst of him being healed, his sins are forgiven. So he has a life-changing moment in this, aside from being able to walk. I think a lot of us have friends, a lot of us have family members, a lot of us have acquaintances that don't know, and they ain't going to come to church on their own. They're just not. They don't want to have an encounter with Christ. They don't want to have an encounter with God. But when we bring them, Christ can do a transforming work in each and every one of us. He transforms us from the inside out, and he gives us a new life. And I think this is what happened with this guy. He wasn't expecting this, but his friends were there. We need to be that friend. Sometimes we need friends that are going to carry us and push us, but sometimes we need to be that friend that's going to pull and carry and give strength to those that are around. In the midst of this, he also calls Matthew to follow him. Then the verses that we all kind of know pretty well. Something we focus on a lot of times is the woman with the bleeding issue. Verses 18 says, as Jesus was saying this, so as he was talking about fasting, the leader of the synagogue came and knelt before him. My daughter has just died. Remember, Jesus had problems sometimes with religious leaders as well, because they were against him. He was bucking the system, and they didn't like that very much. But this religious leader knew that there was something different about Jesus. So he comes to him and says, my daughter has just died. He said, but you can bring her back to life again if you just come and lay your hands on her. So Jesus and his disciples got up and went with him. Just then, the woman who had suffered for 12 years with constant bleeding came up behind him. She touched the fringe of his robe, for she thought, if I can just touch his robe, I will be healed. And Jesus turned around, and when he saw her, he said, daughter, be encouraged. Your faith has made you well. And the woman was healed at that moment. Then Jesus arrived at the official's home. He saw the noisy crowd and heard the funeral music. Get out, he told them. The girl isn't dead. She's only asleep. But the crowd laughed at him. After the crowd was put outside, however, Jesus went in and took the girl by the hand, and she stood up. The report of this miracle swept throughout the entire countryside. Well, look at the compassion that Jesus had there. So Jesus is on a mission. Now, this religious leader comes up and says, my daughter is dead. Okay, let's go raise her from the dead. We all always like talking about Lazarus being raised. There's a few times where Jesus raised someone from the dead. He's like, all right, well, let's go do this. And in the midst of him on a mission, sometimes we're on a mission and we're like, I'm going to go do this, I'm going to go do this, I'm going to go do this, and a distraction comes and we get a little upset. We're like, hey, no, I need to go get this done. And then I'm not a good multitasker. I can only do one thing at a time. But as Jesus is going, this woman, with all of her faith, touches the hem of his garment. And he turns around with compassion and says, lady, your faith has made you well. You're healed. Go. And all of this, there's just constant distractions. There's constant things happening. You got religious leaders. You got Gentiles coming. You got storms. You got disciples all flipping out over the storms. He's calling disciples. And all of this, Jesus is at peace. He's looking at the people. Everywhere around him, he is teaching through his actions. He is teaching through his words. And he's healing. He's not only just healing people's physical, he's healing people mentally as well. He is there through compassion. Many times we can heal people just through the compassion, through listening to them speaking, through words of encouragement. We can heal people through our words, or we can injure people with our words as well. Do we look at the way we talk to people? Do we think about the way we talk to people before we talk to them? After this, Jesus goes and heals the blind. And then we get into the verses that we started off with, that we read. And 9:35 says, Jesus traveled throughout the towns and the villages in the area, teaching in the synagogues and announcing the good news about the kingdom. And he healed every kind of disease and illness. Kind of bookended that. He doesn't do another miracle for the next 5 chapters. In 5 chapters, he does no more miracles. He starts sending out the apostles. Now it's a sending process. He is sending, and it talks about what the apostles are doing as he's sending them out. So Jesus goes into the Sermon on the Mount, teaches us what life as a follower of Christ is going to look like, and then he demonstrated everything he did. And he ends it saying, go, the harvest is great, but workers are few. There's a lot of people here in Ulysses that do not know Jesus. The majority, I would say, do not know Jesus. They may have heard the name of Jesus Christ, but they do not know him in a relationship type of way. And that is our job. Jesus is calling each of us. He is calling me. He is calling you to be his hands and feet, to show compassion, to think about others before we think about ourselves, to love them, to get outside of our comfort zone, to go to someone's house that we may not know, to go to someone's house that we haven't been to in a long time, to talk to someone that in the store that I don't talk to strangers. Just saying hi. I hope you have a good day. Stepping out of our comfort zones. John chapter 20, I'm just going to kind of do a little bit of a recap over the last few weeks that we talked about. But John 20:21, which we talked about last week, said, again he said, peace be with you, as the Father has sent me, so I am sending you. So as Jesus was sent and did all of these things, Jesus is sending us to do the same exact things. There's no difference. The power that we have, the power of the Holy Spirit that is inside of us, is that same power that Jesus Christ had in him. We are sent. Isaiah chapter 6, verse 8 said, then I heard the Lord asking, this is Isaiah speaking, whom shall I send as a messenger to this people? That was God speaking. Who will go for us? And Isaiah said, here I am, send me. I for one can say, I want to say, God, here I am, send me. Now, how many of you here can say to God, God, here I am? I may be old, I may be young, I may be middle-aged, but if you send me, I'll go. I'll do everything I he ended off the chapter saying, he said to his disciples, the harvest is great, but the workers are few. So pray to the Lord who is in charge of the harvest. Ask him to send more workers into his fields. It's the same thing that Luke talks about in chapter 10, verse 2. Luke 10:2 says, he told them, the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Ask the Lord of the harvest, therefore, to send out workers into his harvest field. We, as a district, our district superintendent for the Church of the Nazarene has kind of challenged us all to do the Luke 10:2 prayer. So we've all set our alarm clocks for 10:02, 10:02 in the morning, and 10:02 we pray. Lord, there is a harvest. There is a people around us that are lost. There's people around us that need that peace that can only come from Christ. They need the love, that salvation that can only come from Jesus Christ. Lord, send up more workers. Help us all be willing and able to go. And it's a great prayer. And we believe, we all believe that we're here for a purpose. There's some reason that we're here. And God wants to use us. We're here to give glory to him. And through that giving glory to Jesus Christ, giving that glory to the Father, is going out and sharing who he is, what he has done in our lives, and what we've seen him do in the lives around us. So how can we be more like Jesus? How can we be more like him? Yes. A lot of it has to do with the surrender, which we were talking about a little bit earlier in Sunday school, and saying, sacrificing. Sacrifice is not a word that is in most Americans' vocabulary. We want to get, and we don't want to sacrifice. I don't even like the idea of sacrificing anything, unless I'm going to gain something out of it. Yeah, and ultimately, no matter what we sacrifice, we are gaining something. We are gaining something eternally more important than anything that we could ever gain here on this life. So how many of you, I don't want to see a show of hands, but how many of you last week shared what God has done in your life? How many of you have shared with someone that you knew what God has done in your life? Or what God has done around you in someone else's life? How many of us have talked about God with anyone outside of this church this last week? Someone that didn't know Christ. That is what Christ has called us to do. To not go to all the believers and other people who are in other churches around the city, around the state, and just talk to other believers. And that's good. We need to fellowship. We need to support each other. We need to build each other up. And we need to love each other. But they're not the ones that are lost. Christ has called us to the lost, not the found. It's taking people along the journey with us. There are a couple of people here in the church that I am working with and going to be spending more time with in the coming months, hopefully years. That have a desire to further their walk with the Lord, be more hands and feet, and that is fabulous. There's someone in the church who is connecting me with people who aren't in churches. Any of you here that know anyone outside the church, I am more than willing and happy to help. You say, hey, look, I'm a friend that doesn't know Christ, and get me in contact with them. I will help you and I will guide you. I believe that what I am teaching and what I am preaching here, God has called for us all. And I'm not going to ask any of you to do anything that I am not going to do. I will put my boots behind any word that I say. If I'm not going to do it, I'm probably not going to preach it. You're a family, and I want to support you. And I will bring you alongside of me. You say, hey, look, I have a friend who isn't a friend, who doesn't know Christ. I will go with you, and we will talk and just create a relationship. I believe if Jesus went around building relationships with people Everywhere he went, he built relationships. It's not always about walking up there and saying, hey, you're going to hell because you don't know Jesus. No. It's not about even going to say, hey, do you know Jesus? It's like, hey, my name is Tim. What's your name? What do you do? Oh, really? How long have you been working there? It's just getting to know people on a personal level. It's really easy. Just kind of saying, hey, look, people like talking about themselves. Most people like talking about themselves. I'm trying to have this conversation with Brian a little bit. Brian doesn't talk a whole lot about himself. But most people like talking about themselves. He's just a very humble guy. It's stepping outside of our comfort zone. Talking to people, and sometimes just that opening the mouth and saying, hey, I know you. I want you to know me. It's hard sometimes taking that first step. The compassion that you have for those around you. Sometimes we'll see people like, man, I really feel they're struggling. And we see it all the time. We see people, certain people may be struggling more than others, but we see the pain in people's eyes as we say, hey, how are you doing today? And they're like, oh, it's been rough. All right, well, I hope you have a good day. Bye. How many people do we see that happens with?
Done?
I mean, all the time. Okay,
Done yet?
I'm sorry you're not having a great day, but I really don't have time to talk to you right now. It's that, really, what's going on? What, is there something I can help you with? No, I mean, it's no problem. So you want to talk to me about it? You want to hear? I would love to. Wow. Mind blowing. Somebody I can talk to. Because we live in such a fast pace, and I will say Ulysses is way slower paced than Wichita was, which is slower paced than Houston was before we moved here. But we still live in a fast-paced world. Even here in Ulysses, we still have to go here, we have to go there, we just don't have time, or we don't make the time to talk to people and listen to their problems, because I've got enough problems, I don't need to add your problems to mine. And that's what we think a lot of times. Well, one of the things that Jesus teaches is the more that we are humble, the more we think about the person that is around us, the more that we think about that person who is struggling and reaching out to our neighbor who is having issues, and we help them through their issues just by listening. Many times our own problems start fixing themselves. Christ asks us, we're like, why are my problems not being fixed? Why are I have this, I have that, I have the other? And when we start helping those around us, many times Christ works through that to fix our own issues that we have in our own lives. Just showing compassion. Yeah, I am just one man, but I wish I could divide myself and go with each and every one of you in your daily lives and just walk next to you, get to know everything that you are doing in your life, all of your problems, help you with meeting other people, but I can't. But I have a willing heart. Again, if any of you, and I know that you all know people who are lost. There's not one of you in this room that does not know someone who is not in church and does not know Christ. We all do. Let me know who you'd like to go with. I'll set aside a night, we'll go visit them, and we'll invite them to go dinner, we'll do whatever. I would love to meet them, and I would love to help you and disciple. That's what Jesus did with his disciples. That's what we see. Jesus went out, and he took 12 people with him everywhere he went, so they could see what he did. In that same way, he's called all of us. Again, I'm not going to ask y'all to do something I wouldn't be willing to do, but taking someone, who are you working with? We all also, it's like we know people who aren't Christians. We all know people who are Christians as well. Who are going alongside of us and letting them see our lives. Am I perfect? Heck no. You ask her really well how imperfect I am. Are each of you perfect? No. None of us are perfect. But I don't think that anyone expects any of us to be perfect. As we walk and if we portray a perfect life, like everything is just going hunky-dory and there's nothing going you see that we are broken, that we are struggling with life as well, then we're relational. Don't try hiding things that's going on in our lives. Let's not hide problems that we have. I have a horrible memory most of the time. It keeps me in line a lot with the memory thing. But it's talking about people in the church that are there and willing to help and willing to step out. And Nellie and I went, and, for those of you who don't know, she's now pastor citizenship test, so she is will be sworn in to be a citizen next month. So we're excited about that. Well, we went to Wichita this last week, as many of you know, to get her test, and got there, and my little pea brain forgot all of the paperwork that we needed to take to immigration, or green card, or whatever, you name it. We did not have it. We had no paper whatsoever when we got there. And so we're like, oh my goodness gracious, 4 hours. We just got here at 7:30 at night. I'm gonna drive back to Ulysses and get this paper that I need, and drive back, and the appointment is at 11 o'clock in the morning. I'm gonna get no sleep. I can't really drive. It's gonna be just difficult. So, praise God for some brothers and sisters here in the church that through a bunch of movement, a lot of things. They got into the house, found the paper, we tried getting it faxed, nothing would work, and so they're like, oh, we'll meet you halfway. Well, praise God. It was great. Got the paper, we went back, and you know what happened when I got back at 12:30 that night? Nellie said, I don't have my green card, I don't have all these other papers either. So everything that we had done, we don't have anything. And that was all my responsibility. I should have gotten all that. But I didn't. And like, oh my goodness. And for those of you who know, if you're a resident, a permanent resident of America, you need to always carry this card on you. Always. Everywhere you go, and you talk to any officer, you should always carry this green card with you. Yes. But we didn't. We don't normally. If you lose a wallet, getting that thing replaced is just like super, super, super difficult. So we always just leave it with all the other papers. Got there, every immigration officer really got onto her all that. We were like, God, this is in your hands. We didn't have this form to bring. We finally got the form, but now we don't have anything else. We needed my marriage license. We needed my birth certificate. We needed our birth certificate. There was a lot of things that we needed. We had none of it. And for those of you who know the climate right now with immigration, getting through anything, if it's easy for them to say no right now. So there was 100 reasons for them to say no. But we prayed. We had people praying everywhere. I mean, really everywhere for this. And Nellie and I prayed, God, it's in your hands. If it's your time, she'll get it. If it's not your time, well, she won't get it. We're just kind of leaving it to you. And she went fully through everything other than them saying, you need to carry your green card with you all the time. That was it. And they needed the green card it's like a credit card. You got to put it in. And so that was theirs. They actually had to do a lot of extra work because she didn't actually have it. But that was what it's like when we are a people. Was I perfect? No, I fell short all kind of through that whole trip. I was kind of a half a brain. But we don't live perfect lives. We all have issues. We all have things, but that's where we come together and we support each other and we love each other. And that's what Jesus is talking about his church is. We're one body. We're one people. And that's what we're inviting people into. It's a family. It's a family of God. It's a family that supports even in the midst of our failures, in the midst of our pain, in the midst of our sicknesses. We help each other. And we want to proclaim that. When we see things like that are good, let's proclaim it. Psalms 96, 1-3 says, sing to the Lord a new song. Sing to the Lord all the earth. Sing to the Lord, praise his name. Proclaim his salvation day by day. How often is that? Proclaiming his salvation every single day. How often do we proclaim what Jesus has done in our life on a daily basis? Declare his glory among the nations, his marvelous deeds among all peoples. It doesn't matter where we are. It doesn't matter who we're with. It doesn't matter what's going on in our lives. When we have a problem, when we forget something, when something fails, if she wouldn't have gotten her immigration, she wouldn't have gotten her citizenship. I will be up here saying, you know what, she did not get her citizenship, but you know what, that's okay. God's going to use us no matter whether she got her citizenship this time or she didn't. You know, there's no sense in hiding. Let's just share who we are, what's going on in our lives, and what we can do. So I would like for each of you today, if you love Jesus, raise your hand. If you want to spread, you want God's word to be spread throughout Ulysses, raise your hand. Keep your hands raised. So I challenge each of you this week. Tell 3 people, you got 7 days, 3 people, something that God has done in your life or in someone's life around you. And don't go say, hey, God loved me. Say, hey, how are you doing? Doing good. And if they ask you, well, how are you doing? I say, well, you know what? I was struggling this week. I was having a problem. This is just an idea, you don't have to do this, but you know, I was having a problem. You know, whatever it was, you know, I went, you know, we went to Wichita and forgot all of my papers, and nothing happened. And we were so upset at her. Liz says, oh man, that's horrible. Yeah, but you know what? God came through, and you know, a bunch of people came together, and Lord opened doors which shouldn't have been opened. You know, that was just something. Just tell, you know, so as you're going through, if you had a problem, say, I had a problem. Oh, really? Oh, why? And just share. 3 people this week. Just say something that God has done in your life, or in your wife's life, or in your brother's life, or in your kid's life, or in your spouse's life, or whoever's life. Something happened in my life. I just gave you that story. You know, share our story with somebody. Whatever you want to do, just share with 3 people. That's 3 days out of 7 days. 1 person. It could be a Dollar Tree, Dollar General, Dollar Family Dollar, Lowe's, wherever. It could be in your house. Just share. Let's start small. Let's build. You know, we don't need to build a castle today. But let's just share what Jesus has done in our lives. Let's not be ashamed of what Jesus has done, because he works. He is a miracle worker, and he opens doors constantly. So we're going to pray a prayer. I challenge each of you to repeat this prayer after me. It could be a challenging prayer. If you want to stop in the midst of this prayer and say, I don't know how I want to finish this prayer, but that's fine. You know, but I completely believe that if we ask the Lord to use us, to allow us to be used and be sent by him, he will. Many times we don't ask, God, I would love to be used by you, because we're afraid of what is going to happen. And he may not send you into being a pastor. He may not, like me, he may not send you to be a missionary. He may just he may want to use you right where you are, doing things that you do every single day. He wants to use you, and he will open doors. So it's a short prayer, but I would like each of you, just to repeat after me what we're going to say here. Don't lie. I don't want you to lie, though. As you get there, like, God, I don't want you to use me. Then don't say, God, I want you to use me. But if in your heart you want God to use you, if you want to be a vessel that Jesus can work through, I challenge you to pray. Bow your heads. Father God, because you are so good, because of your grace that you've given to me, I want to be available to you anywhere at any time. It really doesn't matter what you want. I really don't like stepping outside of my comfort zone, but if it's what you want, I'll do it. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do. And wherever you want me to go, I'll go. Here I am. Send me. So if you prayed that prayer, I challenge you to continue praying that prayer. But God wants to use you. He wants to use you. The harvest is great. The workers are very few. thank you for your loving kindness. We thank you for this opportunity to come here today and share with each other and to love each other and to lift each other up, to hug each other, shake each other's hands, to support each other. God, there is a world outside that is lost and they're hurting, and you ask us, no, you have commanded us to love them. You have said we need to love our neighbor as ourselves. We need to love our enemy the same way you have loved us. Those are some really strong words. But we are here today to say, here we are, send us. Here we are. We love you. And we want to be used by you. We want to be obedient to you. We want you to work through us. Lord, we do not have this power to do this by ourselves. We can't love those that don't love us of our own power. So we ask you today to fill us. How many times we pour out ourselves on others and help others and we share our love. We share your love with those around us, and sometimes we may empty ourselves. We ask you today to give us a refilling. Fill us to the top with your Spirit. Use us as we leave these doors, not only today, but Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Throughout this week, we are going to say each day, here I am. Use me and send me in whatever way it may be. Whatever way you see fit. I want to be obedient. My life is not my own. My life is yours as a sacrifice. Thank you for these people. Thank you for this opportunity to be a part of your family. Go with us this week as each of us go into our daily lives. Guide everything that we do. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Well, it was awesome being with all of you. You are all in my prayers, and you will continue being in my prayers. After we walk out of the sanctuary, don't forget we do have food downstairs. We've already got it all set up. I think Susan has it possibly set up. If not, that's okay. We'll get it all set up